In football, no joy is more exultant, no pain more excruciating. For Adelaide's players, immortality was their prize. This effort, a second straight flag against the hardest outfit in the competition, defies belief. History will reserve a special place for these Crows. For their joy, North was gripped by despair. There will be no words to soothe their pain. It will haunt them, because this was theirs. The tears will flow, the days will pass, and this chance will not come again.
Yes, indeed. North's pain and misery was obvious for all of us to see. Thanks for joining us on the final episode of Football Feedback for season 1998. And what a day it's been with Tim Watson appointed as Stan Alves' replacement at St Kilda. Stan will be joining us shortly as we study Watson's move from the comfort of the commentary box to the heat of the coach's box. We'll revisit Adelaide's magnificent win, looking at the moments which turned the game and the players whose names will be indelibly linked with the Crows' stunning success. And with a little bit of luck, if they're sober enough, we'll be crossing live to Adelaide's celebrations at one of that fair city's finest drinking establishments as the party rolls on. But before we do that, let me introduce a man who was pivotal the last time a side went back-to-back in 88 and 89. Hawthorn champion of days gone by, Dermot Brereton.
How are you going?
I'm all right.
It's a long time ago, doesn't it? 88, 89, and now we've got another one back-to-back. And
well, you were a pretty good footy team in those days, and there's no question this one is too.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. They peak at the right time, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but do they actually play to peak in the grand final, or has it just been almost accidental that, you know, in lead-up, they might have been 95% in the preliminary and happened to be 100% in the grand final? We don't know, but it might be serendipity, it might be just the way it falls, but it's happened 2 years in a row, so we mustn't discount the fact that Blight has orchestrated the situation brilliantly.
And also joining us, a very special guest on Football Feedback, our final edition for 98, former St Kilda coach Stan Alves.
Former, oh,
it doesn't take long, does it?
Really former now with Timmy's announcement today.
Hard to get used to that bit.
No, it's stuck in. I'm a slow learner, but I've realised it now, yeah.
Just briefly, to just sit there watching the game on the weekend and thinking, deja vu, here we go again.
I was saying to Dermot earlier that not only did I think it, I actually wrote it in big letters on my footy record at one stage there. I thought, oh, gee whiz, here they go again. And, well, at least it proved one thing to me that, you know, it can happen to other sides, not only us.
And also joining us from the Age, of course, Rohan Connolly. And Rohan, I think you were right on the ball with the Tim Watson story.
Oh yeah, we sweated on that one for a couple of days too, so a bit of anxious wait there, but no, it was good to get it up, and it's an interesting appointment, isn't it? I think a lot of us thought maybe the days of the rookie coach were over, but no, we've got one, and maybe we might get another one a few years down the track, too.
Oh. Super. No.
See the shipper come over it?
Not unless I'm coaching the under-12s or something like that in the local park.
Well, we'll speak more about the Tim Watson appointment, also about the grand final in just a sec, but let me tell you, I don't think the Tim Watson story is actually the biggest news in footy today, and I can actually reveal something here now. Gary Lyon normally would be a part of the show tonight. We're very happy that Stan is here. The reason Gary is not here, he'll tell us that it was the end of season drink, but I can tell you that Craig McLaughlin has pulled a hamstring and that Gary Lyon has been sought out to audition for the lead role of Grease. Our cameras have been allowed in for this incredible occasion, and gentlemen, I think you'll agree that he carries off the role with such aplomb, such gusto, that he's really a walk-up star.
Gee, hasn't Jane Scarley aged then, eh?
Lion does Travolta. It's,
Hey, where
He's a
is
certainty
he?
for this, isn't he?
Where is he?
He's on the ink.
Oh, have a
What
look
do
at
you
him.
think?
And he's loving it.
Some people might think he's acting, but no, that's the real G Lion.
Hey?
so that strut was fairly reminiscent of that one you did in the grand final a few years back, dude. He picked that up off you.
Someone did the chicken walk in the reserves grand final on the
Did
weekend.
they?
Did you see that? Yeah.
Oh, my, how we affect the game.
Well, let's go on to the Tim Watson announcement. And did it come as a shock to you, Dermot?
Oh, look, I suppose Tim Watson thereabouts, but it was an amazing appointment. A bit of courage shown by St Kilda, because he really hasn't kept his hand in at another club, at any club, you know, and I think it's important for coaches to go in just to hear, as stupid as it sounds, the terminology within the close-knit confines of a team, to see the plans on the chalkboard, week in, week out, and just hear everything. He's going to have to take an enormous amount of feedback from those that are in his support group around him, from those who are remaining at the club after stand, who can tell him, hey, this bloke turns in half the space running around to the left. This bloke does that, just to learn the intimate nature of all his players. So a courageous decision, but look, a bloke with impeccable integrity, and he's just a fantastic bloke and a good footy head too.
He did actually just say, we've been listening to him in a media conference here at Channel 7, and he did say exactly that. He's going to have to draw on his support staff more than any other coach in the history of AFL footy, he said.
That'd be right.
It's interesting to me, St Kilda have been very keen on him for a fair while. I mean, Stan, you tried to get him aboard as an assistant a couple of years ago, and just talking to St Kilda people today, as much as his football brain, which I don't think anyone disputes, they seem to be really drawn to his character. The fact that, you know, he competed in senior ranks as a teenager for 5 years, had a knee reconstruction, came back from that, won 2 best and fairest. He sort of suffered the gamut of experiences as a player, and you know,
he's gone full spectrum, because he did get, you know, kicked in the pants the odd time, you know, suffering the 83 loss as well as his injuries, that type of thing. So he's done everything in league footy. The highs, the lows, he's suffered everything. So he needs to draw on all that emotion. And one thing is, we don't know how he reacts with a body of men when he speaks to them.
I think there's a pertinent thing here, and I mean, obviously I'm not privy to what St Kilda has, how they've gone about it, but when I went there, and it was the first time I'd coached senior football. I mean, I'd been involved in backup capacity. But I went in with a club that which was a lot of, had to build youngsters, so it was a development phase. I think that Tim's going is a little bit different. I think the club's probably made a decision that I've got them to a certain level, and now we need somebody to win a premiership with them. So this is a little bit different. I mean, this is a side that's in there, and I think that they've probably looked at, and there are obviously ingredients that he will bring to it that they think can get those players who are there just the next step to become a side that can win the big one.
Is that a short-term or long-term coach then?
Oh, I think that they're actually picked him for today's needs. Now that you can still be long-term, but they're virtually saying this is what we want from this person now, because there's not go in and serve an apprenticeship for a couple of years and then build a team.
Well, Stan, the announcement was made at Linton Street today by St Kilda President Andrew Plimpton.
Today I wish to announce the appointment of our new senior coach, Tim Watson. Tim has been contracted for this club for an initial period of 3 years with options. We congratulate Tim in accepting this appointment, and we look forward to providing all the assistance that is necessary to bring about consistent success.
The first thing I'd like to say is I hope that everybody appreciates and understands the situation I'm in at the moment in regards to my contractual obligations to Channel 7. What I can say and what I will say is that I'm extremely happy with the decision, and I'm also extremely happy with the fact that the St Kilda Football Club have been courageous enough to, in fact, name a rookie coach. I look forward to a long and prosperous involvement with the St Kilda Football Club, and I know in due course that everybody here today will get their opportunity to speak to me in more detail about why I arrived at this decision, perhaps, and as to why the St Kilda Football Club approached me.
Quite emotional, Tim Watson, there at the media conference today.
Yeah, I'll tell you what that reminded me of. That was almost looked like the young man who just got married, and every time he spoke fondly of his wife, he looked at her as he said, "I'm quite thankful." And then back to the crowd, you know. Interesting. Yeah, well, he is. He's married to the St Kilda Footy Club now for the next 3 years.
Derm, I did ask Tim the question in the media conference just before whether he felt uncomfortable about having to either keep mum or tell lies about what's been happening over the last few days, and he said, without question, I did. Does that raise the, well, I know it's finished now, but the conflict of interest thing that came up with Eddie Maguire, and, you know, are we getting too close with people in the media and people in football clubs?
Look, a little bit, but I shouldn't say this, but the one golden rule that we used to, I suppose, used to always say to teammates was, you never get into trouble lying to the press.
You will after that.
Yeah,
well,
as a player, I don't play anymore, but that was the rule we used to say to the young guys.
Yeah, but I think, Derm, I think that in terms of that, that's okay if you're a player. But I think if you're a coach or at the top of the tree, you can't afford to do that. And I think he's, I mean, what we've seen today, see, Tim Watson is a man of high moral values and ethics. And I mean, he was probably put in a situation that was very, very difficult for him. I think one of the things I'm rapt about Tim Watson being appointed is that I think he will. Look, we tried to do some things at St Kilda and to raise, you know, the place and the values around the place, and I think Tim Watson is an excellent choice from that point of view alone.
I reckon coaching appointments are the one thing that everyone is prepared to lie about. It's sort of like, just in my journalistic experience, it's a one story that someone will just lie flat out to your face, and you can't understand why. I mean, it's such a big announcement for the club, isn't it? They want to maximise exposure. I tried to argue unsuccessfully with people there before the weekend that maybe we could drag it out over 4 days and give them even more exposure, but they made us wait. But look, I can understand him telling porkies in this case.
Stan, do you think that Tim will have to preside over a clean-out of the St Kilda list? And do you think, soon we have the opportunity of asking you, that he will have to clamp down? Was there a discipline problem at St Kilda?
Oh, well, which one do you want me to answer first? Look, I think that I'm reluctant to talk about the first one because Tim, he can rely on what other people's thoughts are, but surely you wouldn't take the coaching position on unless you'd thoroughly studied the personnel there and you'd made your mind up. And I mean, and that's something that he's going to have to go strong with. What I hope is that whatever he decides, that he gets enormous support. That's, you know, that's the important thing. In terms of the discipline, yes, there's no doubt about that the St Kilda Football Club, and I'm quite happy to take part of the blame because I was part of the St Kilda Football Club, but I think it goes far and wide. We did not handle the success of playing in the grand final very well, and we continue on with celebration. We made some very poor mistakes at club level. We sat back and just thought we were quite happy with second best, regardless of what we say, and I thought that flowed into everything. I think even the fact that we weren't aggressive in our recruiting. We actually ended up with a list that was really probably worse off because we lost quality players and we never adequately replaced them. And I think that the club's learnt by that. And then that flowed on to players. Players, I think, it's an interesting thing. If you're there for a long time and you haven't had a lot of personal success because the team hasn't had great exposure, then you get some exposure as a team and you get that success. A number of players then said, now I'm going to cash in on individual success. I want a bit for me, and I think that blokes went off in different areas, and unfortunately footy just dropped a little bit down the rung. And it doesn't take much in that area to fall off because, you know, if you're coming off the loss and you've gone up there, everybody's going to try and target you. And I don't think we handle it very well, and we struggle right throughout the year. So, but I think the great thing is that the players have been stung by that, the club's been stung by that. A new coach comes in, I think St Kilda will be very good.
Why are some clubs able to avoid that though? I mean, the Western Bulldogs were in a fairly similar position, came from nowhere, and yet this year they maintained their position. The same players played well.
Yeah, but they never got any further.
Yeah, true. I guess the point I'm making is that
they never got any further.
But they were a lot closer to another grand final than St Kilda was.
Well, we were only 2 games away from it or something, weren't we?
Mm.
I mean, look, we didn't play well, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think that what we're talking about here is that, and we'll get to talking about North later on. I mean, North's had a sensational year, but you try and tell them that now. North have experienced this. You just watch, if we talk about St Kilda, you just watch how aggressive North will be. Because North, they expected to win far greater than anybody else did. And I know we're getting off the subject a bit, but we didn't handle it. So when I'm saying, coming back to you, Pete, in terms of about the players, certainly the players did, but I think all the way through the club, we never showed the way.
Stan, last year you won Coach of the Year, voted by your peers. This year Terry Wallace did, holding the team up there. Malcolm Blight, his performance in the grand final was just masterful.
Yes. Look, I mean, I think we all acknowledge this. We'll take it on, and we love the accolades. I mean, it's fantastic to be that. But at the end of the day, the Coach of the Year is the premiership coach. I'm sure that if that award was given at the end of the finals, it would be a different selection.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because that person's gone all the way through, and really in the last 2 years, Malcolm hasn't received those accolades because we haven't had the chance to watch his performances in the final.
How about Coach of the Decade instead?
Well,
is it harder when you're out of the state then, out of Victoria?
Well, I don't know if it's harder, but obviously we're all looking for something here to justify why we're the best in Victoria.
He is the coach of the decade, isn't he? I mean, he's been in 5 grand finals in 10 years. 4 of them have been in the 90s.
Oh, look, I would say, you know, he took a style to Geelong. I would say his last 2 coaching efforts on the day have been brilliant. But at Geelong, I would say fantastic. You get to the grand final, very well done. But the style of play that he implemented in Geelong, and you listen to the guys who come from Geelong, Tim Darcy, Bairstow, and they've got full of respect for him, but they said he basically coached to a style of the play that he liked, and that could never win a grand final. You look at the grand final teams that win, they just don't let goals through. Even Adelaide were bombarded on the weekend. In the first half, they still didn't get many goals kicked against them. Defensive sides, there's such a thing as there is called a defensive side. Teams which restrict the opposition kicking goals win premierships, and he's proved it 2 years in a row. Adelaide's defence have been the best, if not second best defensive team in the comp.
Well, Derm, Malcolm Blight's always had godlike status in South Australia. If it's at all possible, it's even gone up in the last couple of years. And certainly not only the fans love him, so too do the players. We caught up with some of the Crows after the game on Saturday and found out their opinions on the coach.
Oh, he's the best coach I've had by a mile. He just gives you, like I say, he just tells you to have a go. He doesn't put any pressure on you, and just...
He was the king.
And he just lets you go, so it was beautiful for me.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words the way all the players feel about him. He's just been sensational, and I suppose in a lot of ways he engenders a lot of that belief in a lot of the players. He creates an atmosphere where young blokes and old blokes alike want to learn, and he creates an atmosphere where it's okay to try things and be different.
He just gives us all confidence that we are a team, and you know, we've all got our little jobs to do. You know, as long as we don't need anyone to do anything, you know, extraordinary to win a game. If we all just do the little roles we've been given, you know, we'll be in the game.
He just knows how to get you to the finals and knows what to say, and he's always got a plan, he's always got an answer, and no matter what the other coach throws at us, what the other team, he's always calm and collected, and has always got a response. He never panics or is never flustered, and always knows what to do.
You can't probably put it into words. He's just, you know, a great bloke. He's been there and done it playing and coaching, and he knows what it's all about. So he's got his philosophies and the way he does things, which if everyone sticks to, they obviously work. So and he's just been great for the footy club.
He'll back you in if you just tell him, well, I thought I could get it, and he'll go, oh, well, fair enough then. And he's got no problem with that, which is fantastic. I mean, if someone can tell you that, and you got confidence in the back of your mind, then he won't mind, and it makes it a lot easier.
Looked as though it was a tremendous atmosphere in the rooms.
Absolutely fantastic. You know, all the players, I mean, they've just won a grand final. When aren't you going to be happy, I suppose? But, I mean, they were talking to everyone, you know, very open about it. You could open slather, you could talk to everyone, and if only they were like that every week, Pete.
Magnificent hairdos of the girls, but some of the players' girlfriends down the back. There's 1985 revisited. Coming over from Adelaide. Hey, look, I love them.
You can't resist it.
Hey, couldn't help but to notice that.
Any acid wash or weather ties?
Well, you weren't looking down.
In the media conference afterwards, Malcolm Blight had some interesting things to say. One of them was about the fact that, of course, on grand final day there is one winner, and they receive all the adoring fans and the plaudits from the supporters of the club and indeed the football world in general. But what about the team that was runner-up? This is what Malcolm Blight had to say.
One of the tragedies of our sport, and I've always felt this anyhow, not because of my history, but because of everybody else's history, is that the winner gets everything. And I can't believe in this day and age that we can't acknowledge what's happened for other people to get there to put on a spectacle. I mean, at some stage or other, I think the whole football world's got to wake up. That if there are not enough winners in football, the game will in 100 years die. People won't go to it. And I think that if everyone just takes that tack that, look, there were 2 teams played today, yeah, sure, one's won, and they'll be happy. But let's not dissect and criminate. I mean, it's nonsensical if you think about it. And I think as a football world, winning and losing and sport, we need our kids to actually understand, yeah, we all want to win, but gee, for goodness sake, let's kill off the team that loses at any age. Thanks.
Malcolm Blight after the grand final. Stan, you were there 12 months ago. We have all heard the stories about Peter Moore and what he did with his losers medal. I don't think Malcolm was talking specifically about losers medals, but what would you do if you got a losers medal?
Well, I think it would be bittersweet on the day, but there's no doubt as time goes on that you would treasure it. Because, and Malcolm said that he doesn't say this based on his own performance, but I think he's probably as well qualified as anybody to have those losses and now to have the victories. And look, at half-time, you go through the whole season at half-time of the grand final, North Melbourne was sensational for the whole year. Now, don't tell me that in 60 minutes of football they've got to be almost talked about as losers. I mean, they were sensational. I just happen to feel that the game was a great game of footy too. I really got absorbed in it. I know there were some errors and stuff in it, but I thought it was a great game of football. I just believe you should... Look, each year, even after ours, they talked about, oh, next year we'll give a medal and we'll do something. But nothing seemed to happen. I just think that the people at top might be a little bit surprised if the people in the losing side were brought up and walked past and given a chance to give a medal. I think you'd find that the crowd would rise as one to them.
We're really dragging our heels on that, I reckon. I mean, saw the NRL grand final yesterday, Canterbury Wasps, players got medals. FA Cup final, players go up for 100,000 people, get medals. I mean, you're exactly right. North has had a fantastic season and they do deserve some reward and recognition for what they've done. And I think we're all a bit hung up on the Peter Moore thing. I mean, it was 17 years ago. I think people have changed a bit. We've all grown up a bit about sport, haven't we? And okay, you know, the side doesn't win the grand final. It's finished second out of 16. That deserves appropriate recognition.
What do you think, Tim?
The gridiron format is very good too. They get their Super Bowl rings. And I got to meet a bloke once who played in Miami's runner-up team in the early 80s, and he wore it. Proudest punch he was, and he showed everyone, all the horses. Punch, and I'd just say that...
The following offer is unbelievable but true.
You can't, and you're so proud of it, a premiership win, you can't walk out of the house every day with a medallion around you. I've tried and it doesn't work.
Our blokes don't get rings, they just get tats instead.
Yeah. But if you had it doesn't have to be as garish as the American gridiron ones, but just something nice, you know, that you could adorn yourself with every day, and just for the rest of your life you go, yeah, that was that.
Well, after the break, we're going to be crossing to Adelaide and get the atmosphere of part of the celebrations over there with football manager John Reid. And as we go to the break, we're going to have a look at a bloke. If they gave out rings for grand final successes, he wouldn't be able to hold his hand up after the last 2 years. Andrew McLeod, there was a feeling of deja vu for him at the MCG on Saturday.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Norm Smith medalist is Andrew McLeod of Adelaide.
The following offer is unbelievable but true. Buy now on 2 years interest-free terms at Harvey Norman. 2 years interest-free terms on furniture, electrical, bedding, carpets, home improvements, Manchester, computers and much more. Buy now and pay no interest for 2 years. That's 2 whole years interest-free. What a deal. Now's the time to buy and Harvey Norman's the place to buy. This is a limited offer, so don't miss out. 2 years interest-free terms from Harvey Norman. Conditions apply. See store for details.
From Star City, a Fight Night special on Sports Australia. Australian boxing is showcased in Australia's latest premier entertainment venue, where the best card any high roller can hold is a ticket ringside to the All-Star event, where you're guaranteed the best seat in the house.
I expect a tough, clean fight.
All the glamour of a Vegas Fight Fest with Star City Championship Boxing tonight at 10 on Sports Australia. Who better to look back on the season that was than some of those who helped shape it? Join Jason Dunster, one of the greatest full forwards ever to pull on a boot. James Hurd, or Jimmy to his friends, and Nathan Buckley, runner-up in this year's Brownlow medal. For a look back at the highlights and lowlights of season 98, that was the season that was. 10 Tuesday night on Sports Australia, Channel 12.
For 35 years, it's been the race at the place. Sevilla Mount Panorama, Sunday, October 4, when the world's best run the ragged edge in the AMP Bathurst 1000. See the Euromasters, Clellan, Warwick, Rydell, Gravett and Harvey. Watch them sizzle against Brad Jones, Russell Ingall, Richards, McConville, Murphy and dozens more. There's the V8 band from NASCAR Land, Porsche Cup and the Healy International. The AMP Bathurst 1000 at the Great Race Place. Mount Panorama, Sunday, October 4. Book a ticket, get there.
Darren Jarman starts us off for the last time this year. Long ball in from McLeod, gets to it first, beats Blakey turning back inside, and this takes real skill. That's a snap over distance and bends it around beautifully. Best foot skills in the caper.
And didn't at the other end, the skipper Wayne Carey look ominous early. Runs onto the through ball from Anthony Stevens, and then watch this, freakish with the right foot. That is amazing, dude.
The only one he didn't take in the hand too, and the only one he kicks.
Yep.
Something in there. Body clashes here, they don't get much better. Watch this for Byron Pickett and Darren Jarman. A good hard hit, and I reckon Byron came off worst out of that one.
Frequent fly points for both. The outstanding Kane Johnson drives the surging Crows forward, and that man Jarman is on the end of it again. At the fall of the ball, there's another one. Loves grand finals.
And what about this one from Winston Abraham? Adelaide just keep coming at them. He gathers in here, flicks it over the top, and just able to get a bit of swivel into the kick there, and he just thumps it 55, 60 metres on the carry there.
But the Crows weren't to be denied. Neither was Nigel Smart. He was poleaxed early by David King. He came back hard, and his banana gave Adelaide their first taste of breathing space. And that's the best of the best for 1998. Speaking of poleaxed, a lot of the people in Adelaide probably have had fairly big weekends, and we're going to find out part of the celebrations now as we take you to Adelaide. And we're joined by Terry Moore, the chairman of selectors, John Reid, the football manager of the Crows, and Neil Craig, the fitness advisor. And the first thing I should say to you boys, especially you, Reedy, is we're going live to air.
Yeah, well, we'll be pretty careful what we say.
Be worried about that.
Congratulations. I gather the celebrations are still in full swing?
No, it's been terrific. A very, very good day. All the boys have they met early, and they've been enjoying themselves pretty well.
Has the achievement sunk in yet, do you think?
Yeah, I think it did. Yesterday, I remember being at Wayville, and all of a sudden you get someone who's 75, got their daughter with them, got their grandchildren with them, and all of a sudden you got 4 people, all involved, enjoying what we've done. So it's terrific, yeah.
Terry, congratulations, Dermot Brereton here. I saw the boys get off the bus on the weekend, and if you were a bit uptight last year, I just sensed there was a relaxed mode about the guys, and it was almost like we made it last year. This is one we can pinch. If we win it, it is going to be fantastic, and it really did seem to work good for you. Even though you were down at half-time, you just seem to be in a relaxed state of mind and think we can come out and win this still.
Well, I just think that at half-time, there's no doubt, we're a bit worried, don't worry about that. But, pardon me, we Malcolm walked around the room for a while and had to think about things, and while Johnny and I went back and we tweaked the team around, you know, and got a few spark plugs put in the right place and got the thing tuned up right. So out they went. The side was fantastic, and you saw the result.
I think you're pretty well tuned at the moment too, Terry.
Big blokes you can't read off his blokes under pressure.
It's Rohan Connolly here, fellas. I hope you're drinking Victorian beer at least. But I just want to ask you, Neil, you're getting a lot of plaudits over here for the concerted fitness work the Crows have done about, what, 4 to 6 weeks out from the end of the home and away season, both of the last 2 years. Can you tell us exactly what you've done in the programs and why it's made such a difference in September?
Yeah, it's really no big secret there. It's basically Malcolm wanted to create some culture in the footy club, and you know, it's now tradition that providing the win-loss ratio is correct, that we do some extra work, and then give them 3 or 4 weeks of recovery. And the real reason of that is that, so at the end of the day, that the fitness question is never part of the equation. It's in place, and you know, at this level, you wouldn't want to think that at the end of the day that you talk about where we fit, where we're not fit, and so you just eliminate it from the equation. So it's nothing special. It's a matter of, it's what Malcolm wanted, and that's what we've gone with for the last 2 years, and you know, it's been reasonably good.
Neil, just on that, to be precise, if the Crows were, say, if you were able to grade it out of 100, they were playing at 100% full fitness on the weekend, if they were to play again next weekend, would they still be at that level or would the edge be taken off them? Did they peak precisely on the 26th of September?
No, look, I don't think you can ever say it's on the day. It's very much a phase. You know, the real key to going into a final series is to make sure they're fresh and healthy, and my sort of feeling is that can last for anything from around about 4 to 6 weeks. So it gives you that sort of buffer depending on win-loss ratio again.
Terry, a little bit later in the show we're going to talk about the great job that Peter Caven did, but in the first couple of minutes you must have sat in the box and been thinking, gee, that man Carey, he's going to be in for a pretty big day. He started off well.
He did, yeah, I suppose, and there were a few comments made about what had happened in the first few moments of the game, but Peter Caven's played a very important part in our side this year, and we had faith in him, and why wouldn't you leave him there? And the game turned out fantastically for Peter Caven and for our side, and good on him. It was terrific.
Johnny Reid, Stan Ells here. Johnny, firstly, thanks very much, mate, because you're just taking the pressure off me. I've got the sack over you blokes, I mean. but, you know, I had to live with it all year, and now finally you pass it on to Dennis Pagan. He can live with it for 12 months over here. But, look, having said that, and Terry just mentioned about that you stayed with players, that's great, but, gee, haven't you got a superb side who you can throw around? I mean, I think that your ability of your players is to go one end of the ground to the other and to perform equally, if not better, is just a sensational sign. It's trademark of your whole side.
Yeah, it is, Stan. But I think that gets back to Malcolm. He gives such confidence to the guys that they, when he moves them, it's never a negative. It's always a positive. And they can move, play where he wants them to do, and they always seem to perform.
Now, I've got to ask with Neil, has it been that big a celebration that you've actually lost your watch? Because I'm looking at a bit of detective work there, and there's a bit of a suntan mark there. Where's it gone?
No, he hasn't lost it. I just borrowed it.
Well, where's yours?
That's why you play centre forward, Dermot. Very alert. You pick up on the little things.
Pete, I reckon there might be a few North Melbourne fans wishing the Crows coach's box was this together on Saturday afternoon.
And we're always like this. It's no different.
It's not dissimilar now than what it was.
John, you've got the motorcade over there tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a great motorcade. They've got the 36ers, they've got the Lightning, they've got the Thunderbirds and ourselves, and the Olympians, which is just sensational. And for the Adelaide public, it'll be a great day. And seriously, South Australians are very, very lucky. We've got a great period.
I think cold showers might be the order of the day tomorrow morning, and if you're short on them, come over here. We've got plenty in Melbourne.
Don't worry, we taste it on Sunday, mate. We know what they're like.
Congratulations, fellas, on the achievement, and enjoy the continuing celebrations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Well done.
Terry Moore, John Reid and Neil Craig joining us over there in Adelaide. And I don't know about you, Derm, but I'm tipping they've had a couple.
Oh, I just want to tell. I will say one thing. You touched on it, though, about the ability of the players to move around. I was talking to a 200-game player today. Yeah, he still plays in league foot, and he said he would love to play under Malcolm Blight. He looked at Matty Robran. What was it, 2 touches before half-time, 8 after. And Blight's ability to say, we need him to stand up and trust him there, as well as the fact that he was able to swap the rest of the guys around. But there's a couple of guys who he still trusts to come back into it. And he just looked at that and he thought, that's a wonderful trait.
A couple of other points of view from the game that we were going to have a look at with the boys, but they didn't have a monitor over there, and even if they had, I doubt that they would have been able to see it. Bickley's mark in the early stages going across the pack, that was inspirational.
You just couldn't read him to get there in time, but look, even though young Harvey led him around in the first quarter and a bit with foot pace around the close to goal, looked threatening, Harvey, in the first 15 minutes when it really was in there, but Bickley did everything right. Attacked the ball, attacked the man, and he actually took Harvey's, I suppose, dangerousness in the way he looked at the way he was playing, Stan, out of the equation.
Look, I think the other thing that came through to me, it looked to me like a guy who realised that he hadn't had a big one last year, and he was going to, there's no way known he wasn't going to have a big one, you know, regardless of the result. that Mark Vickley was just going to be remembered for what he did, and I think that early in the scene, that, you know, to me, I just put a little tick beside his name on the, you know, you do little things like that, and I said, this guy is here to play.
I looked at that, sorry, just quickly, I looked at that and I saw Harvey had plenty of the ball, but I thought, don't worry about that, because Bickley is fantastic.
One bloke who did have a big one last year, and doesn't he love the big stage, Darren Jarman, and that left foot goal in the first quarter was something to behold.
There was some question that he might have, no, I thought he might have had a man on there in the square or something, but what an amazing snapper.
But that snap there, watch this, you've got to hit the centre of the ball to snap it over distance like that. A lot of people can get close to goal, and you just snap it and it lobs and comes down just as quick. It might go 15 metres. That snap's gone 35, 40 metres.
But who amongst us didn't doubt him when he had it?
Oh, look,
anybody else on the ground,
you
even hope, but he's got it, and you're expecting it to happen.
I thought it was outside the goal.
It was his wrong foot, it might have at least been 45, 55.
When it was outside the goal, you were saying, oh, it's going to miss, but you're just saying, wait for it to swing back, because Jarman kicked that, you know, and it just came back.
He loves that, I think. It's a bit of a buzz out of him, doesn't he, when he does those magic things?
He just hopes to be under pressure in that situation.
I don't think you and I would have doubted the ball was going to go through, because remember one day earlier this year, round 6, we sat at the MCG in the first quarter and we watched Darren Jarman do this. Look at that.
Right. First goal of the game for them.
Almost identical. Probably a bit more pressure on Saturday.
Same pocket.
I reckon that the big difference between this year and last year for him as a game was, I don't reckon, well, Stan, you might disagree, but I don't reckon he'd done much at all until the last quarter last year. I thought on Saturday he was a much better player throughout the game.
Throughout the day.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I mean, like last year, I think he played so poorly you'd almost discount him, but this year, I mean, there was enough signs there, wasn't there, that he was going to cut loose, and I mean, and he had a darn good player on him too. Let's not you know, downplay the ability of his opponent, because I think John Blake is equal to anybody in a competition like that, so it was a masterful effort.
Just got to say, people ask, what's the difference between grand finals and normal games? You see the first one, when he kicked it, Blakey came to him, thought, I'll box him in, I'll just make sure he can't run around, and he snapped it goal. See the one he kicked in the grand final, Blakey chased him all the way out. The difference between a grand final, you just give nothing away.
In the second quarter, one that you as a coach would love and you as a future coach would love, Byron Pickett's smother. Wasn't it fabulous?
Yeah, he's a good kid, isn't he?
Just no regard for his own safety. I think the ball actually hit him in the head.
It's going to be tough for Byron Pickett, because he's not a great big kid. You know, he's your sort of Dean Laidley-sized type boy, and he's going to play his best footy when his endeavour and his enthusiasm is like that, and it's going to be better than everybody else's out on the ground. Now, to sustain that for a 100, 150, even 200 game career is something no other player in the history of the game's
what
done.
a lifter. I mean,
it's brilliant.
I mean, we say flippantly, don't we, it's worth 2 kicks. And it is.
Because, he does it every week too.
I mean, and that's why, look, I agree with what you're saying, Derm, about him, but I think the boy, and he's well coached too, I mean, with Dennis, that he would have been told those things, and he knows he's got to do those things to play at that level. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, we showed that little thing earlier of him. I mean, it's a fair bit of courage. I mean, he knew he was on a hide to nothing when he ran at a player who's bigger than him, and it's going to be a dead set
Every
crunch.
bit of 14 stone,
He smothered one in the preliminary final that just went straight into his face. I mean, his biggest problem's likely to be having imprints all over his face from the ball, I reckon.
He's a quick David Polkinghorne. He just goes out and looks to get belted.
He kicks a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better, don't worry about that.
And the amazing part about that phase of play too was that his cat-like reflexes, he was up and there to provide the shepherd after the smother.
Been a big find for them, hasn't he?
Did you think Nigel Smart was 100% after the contact with David King? He looked as though he was a bit shaky a few times.
Not for some time, but gee, didn't he come back into it? Look, little things like that. I mean, that's a free kick. And
is it more than a free kick? Is it just reckless?
Well, let's say it didn't take it. Well, there you go. Skew whiff off the boot. I remember that one. I was thinking he probably was looking out there thinking that's the centre of the field. But little things like that. It's a grand final. You do things like that in the grand final. Now, that was a short-term loss by, I think it was King ran into him. Short-term loss, free kick, turnover in the forward line, came straight back. I reckon it just about as close as you could ever get to a long-term game.
He got another one just after it, though.
And he came off for a little while.
And he had to come off. And I just had, at that stage, you know, you can't help but revert to your coaching thing. And I just thought, oh, I don't think Malcolm's going to be happy at half-time, because nobody returned the compliment. His player's been flattened. He's got up, somebody's flattened him again, and nobody showed the flag, and I thought, oh, Malcolm might just have a few words to him about Endeavour and what he wants at half-time.
That was the thing we were thinking in the press box. It was just so highly symbolic. I mean, they were struggling anyway. Smart, very important player for him. Met with a very solid shirt front. No one returned the favour. He looked in trouble. I mean, at that point, I think 90% of us in the press box were prepared to write Adelaide off at our peril.
Well, the second quarter will be most remembered, gentlemen, for lowlights rather than highlights, I suppose you could call them. 11 behinds, and North really could have killed the game off.
I think it was very well put by one of my colleagues on radio. In that period there, Adelaide weren't able to win the game with, you know, the way they were going, but they were able to save it. You know, it left them 4 goals down. You know, the pressure on Carey there, anything less than what we were looking at would have resulted in a goal.
You know, interesting thing that happened too, though, is that when you're kicking those points, more and more the forward line became clogged up.
Yeah, people think they can kick it.
And so there's nothing clean, and people are trying to do things. A couple of times Adelaide nearly caught them out. They only went for it a couple of times, but when they rebounded, it was just so clean.
Yeah.
It has to, I mean, it has to...
This was a killer, that one there. That really should have been nailed.
It has to have a huge psychological effect, doesn't it? Particularly when the other side then goes down and kicks a couple of quick goals, which is exactly what the Crows ended up doing after half-time.
It's amazing. I used to notice it, you know, with the opposition team. I was playing in the forward line. The opposition team would have the ball, and a bloke would be having a shot at goal, and my centre-half back playing on me, he'd be saying, come on, come on, come on, and he actually talk. A backman will talk and pray and hope, and in miss it, you could hear him go, oh, like that, and he's 150 metres away. So it does have an effect. You know, you're thinking, I've just pumped it up there, can't do the job, I've got to do it again.
I tell you what, in that period though, when I just thought at that time, when all the pressures on, I thought there were 2 outstanding players in that Adelaide side. I thought Caven and I thought Hart. Because you know what, not only were they doing a job, they never once went into their shell. They just, at every opportunity, they took risk-taking, they attacked. I mean, sometimes, you know, you look for the body language. These 2 guys, I thought they just stood so tall, I thought they were magnificent.
Well, we'll be back to take a look at some of the critical points of the second half, something that Adelaide fans will no doubt be delighted to see. And as we go to the break, we spoke about maybe giving premiership rings, but I think the premiership medallions did the Adelaide players just fine, especially their skipper in Mark Bickley.
The following offer is unbelievable but true. Buy now on 2 years interest-free terms at Harvey Norman. 2 years interest-free terms on furniture, electrical, bedding, carpets, home improvements, Manchester, computers and much more. Buy now and pay no interest for 2 years. That's 2 whole years interest-free. What a deal. Now's the time to buy, and Harvey Norman's the place to buy. This is a limited offer, so don't miss out. 2 years interest-free terms from Harvey Norman. Conditions apply. See store for details.
Your bags. Optus Vision is giving you the chance to win a $50,000 luxury world holiday of a lifetime. 1 great family trip, 5 fabulous destinations on 4 different continents, and there's thousands of other prizes to win. Just call 1-800-501-625 to register before the 30th of September. See the movies you love and visit the locations where they were made. Call 1-800-501-625 for your chance to win with Optus Vision. Love Hurts. WWF SummerSlam, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday.
You want the best in sports action? Here's what's coming up in October on Sports Australia 2. Cricket. We pad up for the Sheffield Shield and relive the one-day international series between England, Sri Lanka and South Africa. Soccer. We've got the English First Division, exclusive games from the German Football League and action from the French Premier League. College football. The NFL stars of tomorrow and their battle for glory. October on Channel 13, Sports Australia 2. Get into it.
Some of the build-up to one of the truly great occasions in Australian sport. Welcome back to our final edition of Football Feedback 1998. We've already had a look at the first half at the MCG. Stan, a lot's been made of what Malcolm Blight said to his players at half-time, and it seems to be fairly secretive what the discussion was. What about looking into your crystal ball? What do you think he said to them?
Well, I think that, firstly, to answer that, I think that really everything was for him. I think that Dennis Pagan was really in a bind. I mean, because they'd kicked poorly, but by all other parameters they were doing well, and he's got to ask his players to hang in and stick to the game plan, but there's not going to be many changes made. He's just relying on his guys to regroup and go out. But I think Malcolm had all the ammo. I mean, there's no doubt he would have talked about hardness at the footy. I don't care what they're saying, because they weren't as hard as they needed to be. And I think he would have thrown a few challenges to a few people, because, see, people that we haven't talked about, like Mark Rasciuto was playing very badly, and he's had to push him down the back, but he could risk take, he could throw a few forward, he's going to challenge a few of his players. There's no doubt he would have challenged Wren. And we've talked about, you know, confidence and stuff like that.
His third quarter was great, Wren.
But they've come out because the transformation in their attack on the ball, I mean, as a coach, you say now, well, we hope we got the message. To me, I reckon within 5 minutes, what had happened was Adelaide said, we can win this, but North said, gee, we might lose this. And I just think that it was really, the writing was on the wall. It was 25-minute mark before they hit the front of that quarter, but it was just a matter of time.
There seemed to be a bit of feeling on Saturday night. I was at the North dinner, but just seemed to be a bit of feeling among the match committee blokes that, yeah, maybe they were a little too confident. They were way above average in all those statistical parameters. And I think, you know, maybe the players might have picked up on that too. But I guess in defence of them, how could you not be? I mean, as you've said, they'd won 11 and a half games, doing everything right. Everything was going according to plan. What else can you do but continue to follow a plan that's working successfully?
Yeah.
Derm, you could almost see the Adelaide players' state of mind changing with those early goals. The early goal to Jarman, and then the influence that McLeod was having out of the midfield as well.
Absolutely, and where Jarman kicked from there was a tough kick. I reckon it's always very hard on this side of the ground, the camera side of the ground, kicking with a right to left breeze. You don't ever want to kick with your natural, the way you hook the ball, favour that way. You've got to read it. You've got to be brave to start the ball outside the goals and have it come back. If you kick at him, it goes away. But look, I just thought it was an amazing situation. 3 weeks ago when Melbourne poleaxed Adelaide, Blight took away the 3 leaders, Wren, who else? Rasciuto and Bickley. And he said, what are we doing wrong? And they went back to him and they said, we're just getting chopped up through the midfield. We're playing a bit static footy. They're running it. And the Melbourne runners, remember, the blokes who just whipped them off their feet, they decided they were going to play on footy and move the ball in the last quarter. They won that quarter. Hindsight, easy quarter to win. They've played that ever since. North Melbourne in the first half really bottled them up, so they played static footy. It was a kick to a mark, and then a kick to another bloke who marked and had to go back and kick over the man on the mark. After half-time, Wren took a mark from a kick in, and look at all this. It is all forward play running, and the run stimulated by McLeod, by James in the back flank to set up people into space so they could run forward, was fantastic. The whole game plan was, let's take a risk. We're behind, we have to take a risk and run forward.
Well, we've just seen McLeod set up 3. I was just wondering, surely there can't have been another grand final where a bloke was directly responsible for 8 goals without having kicked any. He had a key role in 8 of their goals.
He's just very good at winning the hard ball in the middle of the ground, finding space and following it up.
And his handball. I think we've underestimated his handball skills.
He was the playmaker.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the setter-upper.
So Greg Williams with pace.
It was exactly it. You know, he had a few good allies. I mean, how good is that kid Johnson?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I got to tell you,
he's a big occasion player too.
I'm very impressed by Kane.
Well, he was good on Harvey in last year's grand final, wasn't he?
Yeah, and again, Malcolm, not afraid to give kids big jobs.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have taken courage as a coach, Stan, I think, to put Johnson into the middle when you put Rashudo into the back pocket. But Brett James, underneath, what they were really suffering in the back line was bad disposal. A junk kick forward that wasn't going to anybody, come straight back. Brett James, he's like in a complimentary way, a poor man's Greg Williams. Doesn't read the ball always as well. Gets under the pack and he's very good with his hands and put it to a teammate who had clear space. Suddenly, that bloke is able to run steady and kick with purpose to a target and find the mark.
After all of their momentum, though, Adelaide in the third quarter, North probably went to the huddle with a little bit of momentum because of the goal by Brett Allison after the siren.
Big hit, this one.
Yeah. And there have been examples like the 69 grand final, I think, was one where Carlton had dominated the entire third quarter. Eric Moore kicked a goal, and then all the momentum swung back to Richmond.
I just thought that, I must admit, I thought that as well. And 5-8, I suppose, was fairly wasteful. But just after Allison kicked the goal, I expected to see a bit more emotion and a bit more upbeat attitude.
Yeah, even if it's 10 goals down.
I'm with you, Rohan.
Because it brought it back to 2 points, which was the closest margin we'd had in the grand final for 31 years. And yet, a couple of players sort of tapped him on the back, but there wasn't that sort of, come on, we're back in it.
I think there was just too much damage done to the psyche in that quarter where they've said, we should have been 8 in front and we're not. And the other thing too, that what was happening is that you might get a little bit of a buzz, but North at that stage had too many players not performing. I mean, the pressure that was on Carey because there was nobody up there giving him any support whatsoever. And don't forget, Carey was the bloke who got the footing and laid it off to him, which was a fair sort of a serve in that way. But that was their problem. That stage, in my opinion, there were too many North players who got hung up about their poor performance themselves and I'm not going well rather than we're going to win this as a team.
We just saw some figures about Adelaide's really good third quarters, and last time at the MCG, North came back and obliterated Adelaide in the last quarter and got up to win the game. So it was obviously important that they built on that little bit of momentum that they had from Allison, but from the word go, in the last quarter, Adelaide's goal from Tyson in the first minute or so, Doom, it was the beginning of the end from there.
Well, it was the game pattern was set.
Yeah.
I mean, the second half pattern was absolutely set. Look at the way Tyson came through there. His run down the southern stand wing, there's several runs in the third quarter, just set the pattern of play. And look at that, you could just draw 2 imaginary lines between goalpost to goalpost, running right down the ground, and he's just run straight down the middle, receives the ball, kicks a goal.
One for the trivia buffs, I reckon you might have to go back a fair way to find a quicker goal kicked in the last quarter of a grand final, and without wanting to labour the point, Leon Baker in 1984, I reckon you have to go back about 15 years.
It's funny, the game that we talked about last year's game with St Kilda and Adelaide, the game this one reminded me of was, hate to say it, Rohan, 1984 grand final.
Why you should bring that up, dude?
Wasted shots before half-time, just opened the door a little bit ajar and the other team just played better footy.
If there was any flicker, from North, it was gone, wasn't it?
Although they did have a bit of a flicker when Carey took that diving mark.
Had to kick that. They were gone
this
when he missed
This was the last chance, wasn't it?
When he missed this,
so have a look at that. That was about the 16-minute mark, I reckon. He kicks a goal, there's 7 points of difference. Now, I mean, we're all wise in hindsight, but who at that stage really would have said North can't win this game?
I did. I put my hand up.
Even when they're only, if they would have had 7 points.
I really did. As I said, at that point of time, I said the game is all over. Because, again, what was happening is it was relying just on Carey. There's no doubt that most people, even around me, everybody was waiting, will Carey do something? And that was the problem. Who else was going to do it? I mean, there were just too many of their good players.
Even if he kicked that, he had to kick another 2 or 3 at least after it because Adelaide was scoring well. And the way he would have been doubting his own set shot at goal then, one goal for,
the thing we also got to understand is that we talk about North, and let's understand, North, they're desperately trying. But Adelaide have got the sniff. They've been down, they shouldn't even be where they were, and all of a sudden they find themselves in front. They were so passionate, because you have a look at what happened. There were blokes, and we talked about Robin, there were blokes like Robin, not only him, who hadn't had a touch all day, and they all of a sudden were jumping on the bandwagon because they wanted to get a touch. They were going to put their mark on this game. So they had 18 goers because they were all desperate to have a say in the final.
The contrast in the body language too, after the Carey missed, the North players' shoulders slumped, and then down the other end, when McLeod got it to Jarman, what's Jarman's reaction when he takes the mark?
Oh, look, we call this in the box, he screams out.
I thought they were going to have to get a replacement ball. I thought he was going to squeeze it.
And it is the longest way to kick it. With a northerly blowing, he's got to start this outside the far goal post, and he's just sailed it through easy. No problem. And I'll tell you what, him, Gary Buckenara, maybe, if I wanted a bloke to kick a goal for him in a grand final, it would have been one of those two, I reckon.
But isn't it great to see a guy like that with that exquisite talent deliver it on the day it matters most? Because
he's been so good. He's been so good, and I've got a theory on this, that he's been a bit, you know, I suppose, maligned during the year, but he really only gets motivated against exceptional opponents or big games now. It's very hard to come up week in, week out, and that's where you take your hat off to Carey. Carey gets motivated every week. And they play the blind. Carey would still want to win and play the best game of footy ever seen. Darren Jarman's not like that. He just wants to play good footy and jump out of his skin against the real big games.
You've been heavy in your praise of the Adelaide defence all throughout the season, and when you look at some of the stats regarding North Melbourne scoring from the last times that they achieved, well, probably some unillustrious figures, if you could put it that way. Geelong, 13-10-88 to North, 4-2-26. That was the last time they were outscored similarly in a second half. That was back in 95. And then you look at some of these. Round 13-89 was the last time that North scored less than 20 points in a second half, and that was against Collingwood, so almost 10 years ago. And one other one is that the last time North was goalless in the last quarter was, well, 3 full seasons ago versus Collingwood.
It's an amazing stat, that one. I think you could only read into the 95 component. Go back to 89. I mean, Carey's in his first season then, so yeah, that's just history. Yeah, it's just history.
John Kennedy was still coach. That's how long ago it was.
But that just shows you how good a side they've been, doesn't it? I mean, you know, look, I mean, we're paying credit here, obviously, to Adelaide, but that's why we just come back to before. I mean, they shouldn't be seen as losers.
They're an honest side, aren't they? Yeah. And if they don't score much in the last quarter and they still win, that's because they've given their all for the first 3 quarters.
And they were an honestly delighted side after the game on Saturday night. Naturally enough, Peter Caven was one man who was quick to kiss his medal after a brilliant performance on Wayne Carey, and we'll be hearing from some of the big guns from Adelaide's grand final victory on the other side of this break in Football Feedback.
The following offer is unbelievable but true. Buy now on 2 years interest-free terms at Harvey Norman. 2 years interest-free terms on furniture, electrical, bedding, carpets, home improvements, Manchester, computers and much more. Buy now and pay no interest for 2 years. That's 2 whole years interest-free. What a deal. Now's the time to buy, and Harvey Norman's the place to buy. This is a limited offer, so don't miss out. 2 years interest-free terms from Harvey Norman. Conditions apply. See store for details.
Tuesday night at 7:30.
Who could believe it?
Host Terry Kennedy.
I'll tell you what, it was on for the young and old.
With Steve Luggeroach.
I tipped about 3 from 10.
Mario Fennick.
Anyone that said they tipped 10 from 10, they're lying.
And Gary Belcher.
Does the video ref know all the rules there?
Along with special guests.
It's pretty good from my angle here. I can't see any of you blokes. A lot better for me.
Live and uncensored.
Can we say that on this show?
The Rugby League Weekly Roundup with all the comment and controversy in NRL Winners Live. Tuesday night at 7:30 on Sports Australia.
It doesn't matter whether it's on 2 wheels or 4 wheels. It doesn't matter whether it's on or off the road. We've got it covered on Checkered Flag. Every week we bring you the very best motorsport action from Australia and right around the world. Strap yourself in and hang on as we take the checkered flag. 6 p.m. Friday on Channel 12 Sports Australia.
Some of the moments of triumph from Saturday's grand final at the MCG. Gentlemen, time to take a look at some of the key players. Andrew McLeod, where would you rate him amongst the top echelon of players at the moment, do?
Oh, look, he's got to be top 10, doesn't he? Just by the way, the fact that you'd love to keep him up there in the middle for the full 4 quarters, but just runs him in there for 2.5 quarters. Look at that. I mean, dish off, cop the tackle, break it, and still get into a sprint within half a second.
Still an amazing build, I reckon. I still look at him and think, you know, like the top of his body is too big for the bottom of his body or something. But
he's a 5'8", isn't he?
But it must make him hard to match up on because he's, you know, he's quick but he's strong as well.
What about his play with a crook knee? I mean, he's talking about that. I mean, the kid's in pain. I mean,
he's actually got an artificial leg too. He told me afterwards.
Well, he's a very modest young man as well, Andrew McLeod, and everyone was quick to praise him after the game and congratulate him on the second Norm Smith medal. But he was quick to stress that it was a team effort.
Darren Jones is a freak, isn't he? So, but I mean, everybody, you know, we've got a great team. It's not just a couple of guys. There's no iron team, so you know, they've got a couple of champions in their side. We've got a team full of champions.
Did you feel the momentum changing early in the third term?
Yeah, you know, we got a few things went our way. We got a few lucky bounces and that, and you know, we just capitalised on it.
Feel that North starting to tire, and you were still playing at the same pace.
I think once we got in reach of them, you know, we got pretty close to them. We knew that, you know, we could go on with it, and I suppose, you know, the boys, once their confidence is up, then nothing's going to stop us.
3/4 time we've been confident too, the way you finished off.
We're pretty confident. I mean, you know, the way we came back in the third quarter was, you know, was amazing, and we just knew that we had more in us, and they sort of slackened off a little bit, and you know, we just grabbed the opportunity.
Do you find it a bit more the bigger the event? You think you're able to get something extra out of yourself?
I don't know, I just don't mind playing a big event, it's all right, I suppose.
Must be enormously proud, Andrew, to get another Norm Smith medal.
Oh, I'm more proud to get another premiership medal than a Norm Smith medal.
Did you dare to think about winning another medal going into the game?
I mean, the thought does cross your mind, but I try to not worry about it at all. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself or anything like that. I mean, it did cross my mind, but I mean, I've got to, you know, play it down a bit, and I mean, I'm just pretty stoked about it.
Andrew McLeod speaking to the media after the game. Rohan, there would be one football club who'd be kicking themselves every time they see him.
Well, I reckon, I was just thinking before, Pete, Fremantle, when they came into the competition, he was one of the players actually put on a pre-draft list, but they decided before he'd even played that he wasn't up to it. I think there are a few concerns about his character, and I can't believe there are any concerns about his football, but they let him go. And
swapped him for Groom. He was in the Groom swap.
Well, I think it's fair to say probably Adelaide's done a little bit better out of that trade. And having a look at some of the other guys Freo's let go, a la Winston Abraham and Gavin Mitchell, I think they ought to have a look at who they're letting go.
Stan, I dare say Peter Caven might have had a bit of a caveman.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly
didn't go by any name after his best performance.
Yeah, he would have had a sleepless night Friday, but I reckon he would have slept okay on Saturday night.
Oh yeah, look, a superb effort. You know, I thought Carey started magnificent early. I think also McKernan did well. He kept Wren away from. Wren didn't really get a chance to get in and help Caven out a lot. So I mean, it was up to Caven, but as I said before, that's that tackling, that chasing, and when he had the opportunity, he just ran and ran. And there were times where the King just had to chase him, and he was chasing and chasing him. I thought it was good.
I thought the great thing was too, Stan, he didn't win one-on-one contests after half-time on Caven.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it was just fantastic, and look, to see any player who's had such a checkered career and has had to really fight their way to earn their stripes, and we've probably thought for a number of years, let's be honest, he's still a weak link in their lineup, but I think he's put that to rest. Well done.
I couldn't believe some people didn't give him votes, to be honest. I mean, he shut out the match winner of the game. He's gathered 20 possessions himself. Fantastic performance.
Well, it was a great performance. To go one-on-one with Wayne Carey obviously is one of the hardest tasks in football. So too is going one-on-one with Andrew Marr, and that's exactly what Peter Caven did. I'll get his name right in the rooms after the game.
you've had the huge job. I mean, the world was looking at you today. I mean, they really were. And you've done it sensationally. I mean, you must just be on top of the world right now.
Oh, I can't believe it. That's unbelievable, you know. You try to think positive all during the week, and, you know, you think, oh, gee, he's probably the best player going around. He'll probably win the Norm Smith if they win, you know. You just get all those negative thoughts out of your mind, and I did a little bit of homework on him, you know, probably play him from behind, try not to body him too much and just come and punch the ball and try to run off. And, you know, if I'm running hard and working hard and I'm exhausted, he must be exhausted too, so...
Could you believe the magnitude of the turnaround? I'm asking a few of the blokes. I mean,
I'm thinking 4 goals, I'm thinking, Jesus, you know.
Nobody beats North Melbourne from that situation. I mean, and you've not only beaten them, but you've smashed them in the
players, you know, there wasn't too many boys playing too well at half time, and, you know, it was just a few home truths come down, and you're going to get these opportunities too often, and, you know, to their credit, they just stood up at half time and just played well, played fantastic.
You know how history's going to judge, you know, the Adelaide Crows of 97 and 98 now. You're going to go down in history as, irrespective of what happens from now on, one of the all-time great teams.
Well, you know, we haven't had a great deal of respect over the last couple of years, so, you know, the club made some decisions probably back in 96 and in 96, and, you know, to their credit, the boys have come on, young kids gone up, played, you know, we've got 16 of us played last year, and we've found a few more extras this year, so we probably need to find a few more to, you know, have a good year next year.
And you've been critical to them because they really didn't have a centre-half back until you were able to stand up in that position. And
oh yeah, they had a, you know, they traded Wellman and Ingerson, so, you know, they're quality players, and Wellman's made the All-Australian side, so, you know, they had some quality players to get players.
Don't be so modest. I mean, you have created a niche for yourself in this side.
Oh, I've probably given myself an opportunity, you know, probably an opportunity I didn't have at Sydney, where I, you know, kept my life alive in AFL footy. You know, 57 games when I first came to Adelaide, and, you know, I thought that might have been it, but, you know, I'm on my way to 150 now. So,
it's an enormous story, isn't it? I mean, individually, personally, it's just a magnificent.
Yeah, I suppose one of the, at the end of my career, sit back and, you know, say, you know, you won 2 Brownlows,
better than that.
What are these things called?
So blasé, you know.
Brownlows, you know, got a vote. Unbelievable, I can't believe it.
Congratulations.
I can't believe I've got to have a cold shower, though.
I know, that's terrible.
I can handle it, though.
Can you believe that?
I would have been disappointed about it last week. I can handle it.
Yes, after that, Andrew Marr took him out to dinner, even went as far as fixing his cold shower for him. Obviously, they got him pretty well.
Gee, Andy Marr there. I mean, he was interviewing him, but we heard more of his voice, Andy Marr. He's a star, isn't he? You put him in the same league as Darryl White now. He might be very keen on him. Another bloke who was very interesting was Darren Jarman. We've talked a little bit about him. But when he actually went back to full forward, it was almost like he'd worked out Blakey a little bit. He decided, right, I'll play Blakey right from the last line, because John Blakey did his apprenticeship as a half-back flanker, and there's no doubt as a tagging player, Blakey almost likes to be in motion when the ball's on its way to his area when he's tagging, whereas Jarman took him back to the full forward line, and once he started getting involved in the play as the ball was coming to him, he went from a standing or static start into the ball, into the play, lose Blakey, and then get onto the end of the ball. So it's very clever play by Jarman. Let's put it this way. I don't think he's a super intelligent guy, but he's a super intelligent footballer. I don't know what he's like academically away from the game, but that's just the assumption I can make. What's that? Oh, look, I'm not trying. I don't know where his background is. I don't know. Having spoken to him, I don't think he...
He went you down the trivia quiz one night or something, did he?
Well, he might have. I don't think reading is his long suit or anything along those lines.
I hope watching television, isn't it, or he'll be after you?
Oh, no, he's a good bloke. I mean, he'd probably admit with that.
What, do you admit he's dumb?
I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm just saying I don't know if he's... get on.
Yeah. Let's hear what his answer was like
this could
after the game, after his 3rd premiership medallion.
It's great, isn't it? I mean, it's amazing.
Can you quite believe it? I mean,
I can't actually. I'm just sitting back now and just taking it all in. It's quite amazing to go back to back, and you know, in the 90s it's going to be very difficult to do.
Well, I mean, you were fortunate enough to play in the Super Hawthorn teams in the late 80s and early 90s, and look, this is a very different in terms of personality and manpower, and it's a different competition you guys are playing in now. Is it more satisfying to be doing it with a club like this?
I think so. You know, they put a bit of faith in me when they got me back to Adelaide, and I'm just happy to repay them.
It's just extra sweet to be kicking lots of goals.
It's just nice, you know. It's just nice that Andrew McLeod come and tearing out of the middle, and it's just a pleasure that, you know, he just finds you every time. It's perfect.
Again, you played with some sensational players, and he's only young and he's got, you know, he's on the way up. I mean, how good is he?
He's probably one of the best going around at the minute, without a doubt. His balance, his speed, he's got beautiful vision, and it's just a pleasure to be with him.
And Blighty, his impact?
He was very good at half-time, Malcolm.
What did he say?
I thought he would go off a bit and wait for the chairs to go flying around, but he was very positive actually, and said, no, keep attacking down the middle. It's the only way we're going to get back into it, and obviously it worked.
Super intelligent guy,
Yeah.
super intelligent footballer.
Darren Jarman speaking very eloquently there with Andrew Marr
Yes,
after the
he
game,
is.
and I thought you've been a bit harsh on him too. You've made a note with your crayon about Sean Wren. What do you want to say about him?
That he's a very smart footballer. No, look, we're talking about the Crows' ability to peak at the perfect moment. I reckon this guy personifies it. I mean, he'd struggled really with the knee most of last year. We might remember ripped off the knee brace at half-time last year's preliminary final, inspired their revival, probably inspired their revival on grand final day, dropping back across half-back in the second half. And this September he's come out and done exactly the same thing. And two, when he gets on a roll and he gets up at the ruck contest and just thumps the thing 30 metres, I reckon that has a real psychological impact as well.
Well, Andrew Marr caught up with Sean Wren after the match, and no doubt he was thinking about a sense of deja vu from 12 months previously.
So your second half, I mean, it was very similar to what happened last year. It was almost a carbon copy. What happened to you at half-time, do you think, that...
Takes me a half to warm up, mate.
I mean, it might be a bit like that, but you were absolutely had a profound impact on that game after half-time. What happened?
I feel very, very lucky. I always get bloody faint when I start talking. The balls were being bounced very well, and I was able to get my timing right and have a good jump at the ball. And you know, we just started getting out of the centre. The blokes in the middle were playing in front of their opponents, and you know, once you start bringing it through the middle, you know, the whole team gets a bit of a run.
And are you aware of the fact that a lot of these guys are looking at you? I mean, a lot of them have said that they saw you jumping, you know, really strong and really hard after half-time and knocking it where you wanted to knock it. Are you aware of the fact that there are a lot of blokes on this side that are looking at you in that sort of situation?
There's a lot of blokes that are my inspiration when I'm rucking half-backs and all that sort of thing that come in and just keep telling me to jump hard and keep competing and that sort of thing. And I suppose that's all you got to do in the ruck is just keep competing and you know, make a good account of yourself. And you know, it went. You know, I was lucky; it went my way in the second half.
Marvellous effort there by Sean Wren. Stan, Wayne Carey had the weight of the world on his shoulders coming into the game. How would you rate his game, say, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, look, I'd still give him 6 or 7 out of 10. I thought he set the scene. It couldn't have been a better scene for them. And, you know, like that miraculous goal that he kicked, you know, off the ground, which was a response to Jarman's one. And just the fact that in the last, you know, quarter and probably the last half, I mean, he was going to be the man. And I just felt that really he never got any support, but he just kept at it and kept at it. And in the finish, I mean, they were able to just leave their men, Adelaide, and just go and just get the numbers on him. I just think he's fantastic, and I just think he's a great leader.
He looked spent there, didn't he?
Yes.
He'd given his all.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much more he could have done. I mean, you know, I think that Dennis would have been just wrapped in his performance. And look, what did he kick? He kicked 4 or so points, and there was a couple hit the post and things like that. At the end of the day, we could have been, you know, singing a different tune.
Naturally enough, he was a very downcast man after the match, but he faced up to his duties as North Melbourne skipper. This is what Wayne Carey had to say after the game.
So much hard work that goes into actually getting there, and you know, to let this one slip, I think is disappointing. I think, you know, we've had a fantastic year, and you know, from the word go to win the Anton Cup, to finish minor premiers, and then to get here today and really let ourselves down and let our supporters and everyone else down is disappointing. But I don't know, I suppose it'll make us bigger and stronger and more determined next year, hopefully. Right, Wayne?
Yeah, no doubt he was hurting, and he was entitled to.
Oh, look, super critical, and why you can be, I suppose, with the best player in the comp. I really thought a bloke of his know-how could have made more of that dribble shot that hit the post. I used to always think, when you're there, you can lay it across your body, somebody's running behind you. If you lay it across your body and dribble and rely on the curve of the ball around the ground to get it through, you don't get contact. And it is super critical, and it's probably going overboard. But if you turn side on while you're in air and kick the thing as a drop punt, you never miss. You cop the bump and you hit the deck and you roll over and you get up a bit grubbier and a bit sorer, but you never miss.
Yeah.
And I just thought, being a grand final, the moment, and That's where the decision
I don't think
making is
you're being
made.
super critical. I think that at this level, that's what you'd expect. I mean, if you've got the footy and it's in your hand, I don't care whether it's Carey or anybody, you've got that responsibility. And if you do the right thing, you get the accolades. If you don't, you've got to wear it.
The decision's made in there.
Yeah, but this is
and
the
I
level
thought
we're
that Wayne
playing at.
Carey would have made that decision and got it right.
Well, let's go to our final break with more scenes of joy from the Adelaide Football Club as we complete our wrap-up of the 1998 AFL Grand Final. And when we come back with our final segment, we'll take a look at the highs and lows of season 1998.
The following offer is unbelievable but true. Buy now on 2 years interest-free terms at Harvey Norman. 2 years interest-free terms on furniture, electrical, bedding, carpets, home improvements, Manchester, computers and much more. Buy now and pay no interest for 2 years. That's 2 whole years interest-free. What a deal. Now's the time to buy and Harvey Norman's the place to buy. This is a limited offer, so don't miss out. 2 years interest-free terms from Harvey Norman. Conditions apply. See store for details.
From Star City, a Fight Night special on Sports Australia. Australian boxing is showcased in Australia's latest premier entertainment venue, where the best card any high roller can hold is a ticket ringside to the All-Star event, where you're guaranteed the best seat in the house.
Expect a tough, clean fight.
All the glamour of a Vegas Fight Fest with Star City Championship Boxing tonight at 10 on Sports Australia.
October, and it's the start of a summer sports spectacular on Sports Australia Channel 12. Welcome the season back with 2 live and exclusive Sheffield Shield matches, plus the Western Australia England Tour match in full. Soccer. Oh, what a goal! The Ericsson Cup starts with live and exclusive games every week, plus live and exclusive English First Division games. International AFL. Lee Matthews takes a squad of the AFL's best to battle the Irish in a 2-test international rules series. Motor racing. The exciting 2-litre Tourers hit Mount Panorama and the 36th AMP Bathurst 1000. Yes, yes, yes! So smear on the zinc, sit back and prepare for a spectacular summer on Sports Australia Channel 12.
It's insane. Superstars of Wrestling. Tonight at 9 on Sports Australia.
Well, after 185 games, it all came down to that, and on Saturday, Adelaide was crowned the AFL Premier for 98. Welcome back. And it's time now to take a look back at season 1998, Derm, some of the highs and the lows. And you got yourself involved in a bit of controversy at one stage throughout the season.
Yeah, look, I thought it was a bit of a low with James Hird. You know, I gave him a little bit of a hurry up, I suppose, with the article I wrote on him in The Age. And he came out and tore his hamstring first up, first passage of play, and he attacked it so well. And I genuinely, I don't think it was a low light, but I genuinely felt for the bloke, because and the power of the pen is pretty strong in this town in a footy term, isn't it? And
as it turns out, you were right, but you would derive no satisfaction from being right.
No, none whatsoever, and stand by that. I really did feel for James, because probably. Yeah, he might even be deemed a better centre-half forward than the way I played. He's probably the centre-half forward who plays the closest to the way I did. He used to play a little bit nastier than James, but and therefore I look for him to do good things. You know, I want to see him do well, and when he actually hurt his hammy, I genuinely felt for the bloke.
If Dermot had have written that about one of your players, Stan, would you have been happy enough with that article?
Look, as a coach you wouldn't, because you'd defend your player, but deep down you'd probably think, I hope the kid listens to this. Because I read with interest what you said, and the words I saw were just stating facts. And I think, you know, at the level and what you were asking for him in terms of that commitment and all that sort of stuff, I thought was spot on. Obviously then the emotion, everybody just kicked in on it, and I think they lost a bit of track of what you were on about.
Yeah, they really went hard with it, didn't they? And that took a little bit of focus away from it. But yeah, look, I just tried to make it honest. So I mean, I hope for Essendon and James Hertzaki has a good year next year.
Do you want to have a wild guess what Stan's low light of the year might be?
No, I've got a fair idea. It's fairly fresh in our memory.
Don't keep us in suspense any longer. What is it?
Oh, it's pretty selfish. To be honest.
Are you still hurting now, or has time healed the wounds a bit, do you think?
Oh, look, I'm hurting, there's no doubt about that, and but time will heal the wounds, but because look, you go to a club and you work through some real tough times, and there's some light at the end of the tunnel. There's a bit of a hiccup this year, but I'm just convinced that this side, this group of people, have still got more to offer, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be part of it. I'm now going to sit back from a distance and watch Tim work with them. I mean, I'll really be, you know, inwardly barracking for them, because they're all such great kids and they've given their all for me, and I was just wrapped in that. But to go through the hard thing, and as I said, our mission's not finished, and you know, the things that we wanted to do, and not get that opportunity and to be denied that, obviously it hurts.
It's just a quick question to you. I know you're a man of integrity and you never want anything to come out of school, but I suppose now that you're not coach anymore, the doctor-patient clause doesn't apply anymore. Barry Hall, what does he need to do to make his footy good?
Oh, Barry's got to stop falling for the three-card trick of what's tough. Yeah, he's got magnificent ability, but some people out there have just got to him, and he now thinks that toughness is knocking people over who've got the footy. And whereas, look, I think this time last year he was one of our 2 or 3 best players in the grand final, because he actually attacked the ball.
Yep.
And unfortunately now Barry's trying to be big and strong and tough for all the wrong reasons. I'm just hoping that it's a bit of immaturity, a bit of hot-headedness, and that he'll just settle down and concentrate, because look, he's quite an outstanding talent. I think he can play both ends of the field and will become a good player. But the problem is, he's shown his Achilles. Every side knows they can get him in. He's now got to either be able to bite, go to the footy and play footy within the rules for a period of time.
And not retaliate.
And not retaliate.
Rohan, the saga of the Brisbane Lions was eventful throughout the year and at times messy.
And say that again. Well, it certainly gave us a few good news stories during the year, for which I'm eternally grateful. But you have a look at the toll. You've got one of the 2 SAC coaches there, and that was his last game in charge. That was the day Michael Voss snapped his leg in about 5 places too. So that was really the death knell for them. You've got half the match committee basically not talking to each other. Anyone would think it was Essendon. And just a complete shambles, really. And it's amazing when you think back to how close they were to a grand final appearance in '96. They've been given wads of money, heaps of players. We all tipped them to win the flag in '97, and 2 seasons later they've marched away with a wooden spoon.
Yeah, I tipped them to go down.
Well, it's worth making the point that it's no wonder the AFL has washed its hands of mergers, because if that's how they work, who'd want to be in one?
How can they possibly improve that much next year in '99?
Oh, there's a bloke with a fair record taking charge, and
and there's a few underperformed players. There's a few guys who I think it's fair to say have given less than their all this season.
But I think, look, League's going to go up, that's fantastic, but the people behind the scenes have got to come to grips with AFL footy. You know, there's no doubt about that, because, look, might seem just a small thing, but the speed with stuff gets out to the media about what's supposed to have happened behind closed doors. I mean, how can you build an empire? Do you hear anything coming out of the Crows?
No.
You are kidding.
You don't even hear it out of Port Adelaide.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's what they've got to be. They've got to become a real professional
We were telling
club.
Brisbane half the time what was happening.
One of my, well, I don't think it was a low light so much as I think the saddest moment for me in footy throughout the year was a moment that you were deeply involved in. To see a great player in the game completely lose his cool, and I just felt a touch of sadness. What was your first emotion in the coach's box? Was it anger, disappointment? Can you recall?
Oh, look, the first one was the first reaction was, oh, Nick, no, I'm going to have to get him off. I have to get him off. I mean, you know, he's totally lost it. And then it was, well, do I bring him off? Do I belittle him? And you know, get the runner out, talk to him, try and calm him down. But the runner just told me he's just totally lost it.
Yeah. Do you reckon there's any chance in the eyes of his teammates that was the straw that broke the camel's back with Nicky Winmar?
Oh.
If they're asked their opinion over the summer.
Look, it's probably an individual thing, but I know that they were bitterly disappointed because one of the things that was a major disappointment was the way he reacted when his teammates went to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I think that was the thing. It wasn't. You know, the fact that he was losing his cool and doing that, but when they went to sort of try and show some support, and at the end of the game, they all went to him and said, "Okay, we're going to show some solidarity because we brought him on at this time to try and give him a chance to redeem himself." You know, I didn't want him to finish the game on the bench. I thought if we get him back on, he gets a few kicks, that will lift him and everybody else. But when they walked off and he refused to walk with his teammates, I think that cut them deep.
If you were still coach, would he be on the list next year?
Oh, look, the bottom line is that he's still got a year of his contract to go. Look, I'm quite happy to say this. Look, we debated this long and hard over a number of years about Nicky, but at the end of the day, what you've got to understand is that as a coach and a match committee and everybody, once you've made that decision, whether you voted for him or against him, whatever the decision is, and the decision was that we went with him, well, I went with him. And so everybody did. So what I hate is that somebody's saying, oh, yeah, I went for him, but I really felt this way. I mean, that's rubbish. Yeah, we all had our say, and we all went with him.
In our closing couple of minutes, highlights for the year, emphasis on the high this time, the marking this year.
Yeah, I love Jeff Farmer this year. I thought his grab over him.
Abraham got mark of the year, though.
Yeah, he did too. He got it when he came in from the side and look, there's
What
a
about all the
passage.
little blokes taking the marks of the year?
Yeah, not happy with that.
Big blokes that they drop right out of it.
What do you think, Rohan?
Well, I'm with you, Dean. This was my highlight of the year. Well, not this one particularly, but just, I mean, there was a period there a few years ago where we honestly thought the Screamer was dying.
This one for me. I suppose corridor footy. Corridor footy at the moment. Melbourne.
And what about, let's not forget this bloke. I reckon for consistency, you've got to go for this guy. I saw him take half a dozen of these.
But he's nominating himself now too. That's how he's getting on him.
If you can do it, why not?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
I reckon your highlight of the year would have been that game in the West.
Oh yeah, look, we're under the pump. We went over without Lowe and without Burke, and we were shot to ribbons in real heat in the last few minutes. When I had a runner going out to my blokes just saying, keep moving, don't let anybody know. They could hardly move, they were gone. And yet to lift and to win this game was one of the most outstanding, exciting things I've ever been involved with.
Yeah,
that's great excited there, Stan?
Oh yeah, I tend to just lose it now and again.
Not here, fortunately.
And I thought, for what it's worth, I thought my highlight of the year was Melbourne's improvement from 16th to 4th. I thought Neil Danaher did a fantastic job.
Sensation.
We saw a lot of them last year, Dermot.
Yep.
And to see them come up through the ranks, yeah, they weren't good, but this year they were terrific and they provided some great entertainment for footy supporters in general.
Biggest rise up the ladder by any side ever. Fantastic.
Plus, the other personal highlight I can just talk about is Gary Lyon. He was just amazing again.
Oh,
you know? I think Andy Maher wants to... Oh, I won't say that. All right. He loves him, but not in that kind of way.
I preferred him in Greece, actually.
Well, that's it. Rohan, thanks for all your input throughout the year.
Pleasure, Pete. It's been a pleasure being involved.
Stan, thanks for being with us tonight on our last show.
Memorable year, wasn't it?
Let's hope better fortunes in '99. And Derm, again, congratulations on a fantastic job right throughout the year.
And well done too when you come on board. Been fantastic.
Thank you. And we should thank Tim Lane, who of course is away in Pakistan at the moment, who's been hosting the show right throughout the year. Gary Lyon, who's not with us, Brian Waldron, all of our producers, Andrew Marr and David Barham, everyone who's worked on the show. Hopefully we'll see you in 12 months' time when they do battle for the Holy Grail.
The following offer is unbelievable but true. Buy now on 2 years...